in 1999, so 23 years ago, or 22, almost 23 years ago, I released my first album. On, so it was a joint venture between Sony Music and three independent CEOs of big labels. So the person who decided to sign me was the ex-CEO of Warner Music in France, with the ex-CEO of EMI Music Publishing, and the CEO of Déclic, which was Afro-Caribbean label out there in France. And they created this big entity called Globe Music that belonged to them and Sony Music. They signed me. I had my album already done. They signed the album, and we start. The album comes out, #1, best-selling Zouk Caribbean Afro-Caribbean album in 99, 2000. So I'm #1 of the game, etc., etc. And at that point, I already have visions of the future. I already say to myself, I wanted to do this, and this in the future. I already knew that I wanted a label. I already knew that I wanted to sign other artists. And the label was 3 floors. We had on the downstairs, we had the reception. Upstairs, we had the office of the 2 offices of the owners, of the CEOs. And then on the top, it was empty. And one day I go to them and I tell them, hey, you should let me go in the top, and I want to be your partner. And they're like, what? What is this kid saying? So mind you, they were probably in their 40s at that time, and I was in my 20s. So they look at me like I would look at my son. If he tells me, yo, I want to do episodes of Club Shada or whatever, I would look at him like, what? And me, I arrive and I tell them, hey, listen, mind you, it's 1999. I just did 1 album. That's what that's the only thing they know from me. But I tell them, hey, listen, what I want you to do is to buy me a mixer, a microphone, a computer, a Pro Tools, put everything up there, and I will do albums for you up there, and you give me a percentage, like 20%, 30%, and we become partners. And they start laughing. Like, he thinks he's Puff Daddy. They start laughing. And I look at them and I'm like, I'm serious. I really want to have my own label and sign other artists, because I know some people that need to, I need people to I know that I can help other people. I know I can make music for other people, etc. And I know a lot of people with talent that are not being signed by those record companies, and I believe that I can make you guys money. And they laugh at me. They were like, yo, listen, ha 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 ha, whatever. Okay. So I'm like, fine. I still have my album, and I go to New York to work on my second album. I work on my second album. Second album comes out, failure, etc., frustration. And I come back to them with this idea. I tell them, hey, listen, I need you guys to give me the last floor, put a studio in there, a home studio in there, so I can produce and record music from indie artists, and I can have my label inside of your label. And the guys are laughing and saying, listen, you're not Puff Daddy, forget about it. All right. So I go on tour, life goes on, things are continuing. I'm a little depressed about the fact that my second album didn't work as the first one. At that time, I'm not even aware of all the mistakes I did for it not to work in terms of business moves. But you know, and we about to go in the West Indies. We about to go to the West Indies to do the promo of the album. And I realized just before that, a month before that, that these guys are trying to sign a friend of mine whose name is Jean-Michel Autain, who's one of the creators of Zouk R&B, very, very, very in advance of its time creator, an amazing artist. But they want to sign him. And he tells them, Jean-Michel tells them, hey, if you want to sign me, if you want me to do an album with you guys, you have to sign my record company. And I want to have a record company so I can produce other artists. So he had his own label called Funboy, and he was like, yo, I want to have my guys, and I want you to fund my label, and maybe in exchange I will do an album with you guys. And you know what they tell him? They said, oh, listen, we have a third floor where we could buy you a board, a soundboard, a computer, put a Pro Tools in there, put a microphone, a booth, and this could be your label. And they give them all my idea. They give him all my idea. And they tell him, hey, listen, we can do this for you, and in exchange we sign your album. And I realized that because, you know, people are talking, the streets are talking, and I realized that they just proposed to somebody else that I know my fucking idea. And I'm like, I'm super disappointed. And I'm like, what the F? And I'm like, okay, well, listen, this is life. Okay, you know, maybe, you know, he's more famous than me at that time. Even if I just made you €1 million of sales, but you want to give all that money to somebody else that I know. Okay, so at that time, I'm the girl who sings all my choruses, and that I discovered Lincha is so we friends. She comes in my house all the time, and one day she's strange, and I keep telling her, you know, one day I'll have my label. You have such a great voice. One day I will sign you. One day I will do your album. And these days she's very strange. We're in my house, and she starts crying. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on with you? And she's like, no, I have to tell you, I cannot. That I have to tell you the truth. I'm like, tell me the truth. She's like, yeah, I have to tell you the truth. I was like, what's going on? And she's like, Jean-Michel's girlfriend called me. So Jean-Michel's girlfriend is a singer as well. At that time, her name is Marilou. She had a great song in '96 called Monito. So she calls her and she tells her, listen, Jean-Michel why is my chair making all these noise? Jean-Michel is about to have this brand new label, and he wants to sign you. He wants to be the first artist that he's gonna do an album with. And don't say nothing to Kaysha. He cannot know. And wow. So at a point she explains this to me, and I tell her, listen, this is something I cannot offer to you today, but I know that you have been a fan of this artist for a long time. It's one of your idols, and yeah, listen, I'm not gonna refuse for you to take this opportunity to work with this legendary artist because of my ego. Go and do it. Go and sign with him. My only question that I don't understand is why, if he's my friend and we know each other for such a long time, why is his girl, who's a singer, why, first of all, why doesn't he sign his own girl? And second of all, why do they want to keep this away from me? Why? And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I thought we were friends. I thought it was a crew. Listen, we have the same tattoo here. Me and him and others. Like, it's the crew. We created this whole Zouk R&B thing all together. So if you have an opportunity and you want to sign a girl that I was supposed to sign, and you have the opportunity, I don't know how many years before me, I don't mind. Just call me and tell me, hey bro, what are you doing? What are your plans with her? What you want to do? Listen, I have this opportunity to have a label. I really think she's the one that I want to work with. And bro, maybe you can also, put your beats in there, something, but nothing. So for me now, it's disappointment because this girl wants to work with this guy, and I cannot propose. I cannot like destroy your career from my ego. There's a great opportunity, so you have to go. But if it hurts, but hey, listen, singers are everywhere. Just do your thing. But then, why is my friend not telling me that he signed a deal with my label and they are giving you all my idea? All this thing is my vision, and they're giving it to you. They're funding all your operation based on my ideas, and neither you, neither them are telling me nothing. It has to be the artist that you sign, and you decide to sign the person that I discovered and I'm working with to do this whole thing. So I'm like, I don't understand. But because I have a lot of respect for the people who sign me, and I have a lot of respect for him as well, and for her as well, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to remove myself from the conversation, and I'm going to let them do their thing because it's good for her as the artist. And listen, my time will come. When I'm ready to work with somebody else, I will work with somebody else. Who knows? Or maybe with this one. Who knows? So 6 months go by. I go to Belgium to be with the future mother of my kid. At that time it's 2001. So I go live with her. And at that moment, I'm very disappointed in everything. The music industry, I'm disappointed at the fans because they didn't buy my new album. They didn't understand what I was trying to do. But at the same time, I don't realize that I went from a Zouk album to a hip hop album, so etc. I told this in other videos. I'm very disappointed, so I remove myself from the whole Zouk Afro industry as a whole, and I stay in Belgium a little bit, and I decide to just do hip hop beats under the name Angel City. That's when I create Angel City. I start only selling my music on mp3.com, and I live in Belgium, and I stay there, and from time to time I go back to Paris. At a point, I go to South America to do a show in Guyane, and Lincha, who's recording her album with Jean-Michel, who still didn't tell me nothing, tells me, you have to pass by the studio to see what we're doing. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, it is strange for me to go in a studio to see everybody working as if I knew what was going on and just appear out of nowhere. And I don't want to create drama, and I don't want people to feel strange, and I don't want people, and I'd rather them invite me to come to the studio and explain to me what they're doing, because they didn't tell me nothing for months. And she's like, please, can you come? Please, 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 please. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm coming. So I go to the studio, and when I arrive in the studio, I see all of my homies from that time, which is Jean-Michel's crew, everybody, Gregory, Randy, her, Christian, all of the guys that we used to chill with. They're all there in the studio working with her on her album. And everybody is acting as if I knew. So when I go to the studio, everybody's, oh, what up, bro? And they make me listen to the album like nothing happened. And me, I'm like, wow. So if you know me a little bit and you understand the way I've been telling you about the way I operate and the way I operate in life, my interests are always under respect. To me, respect is the base of everything. To me, there's respect, family, then my interests. If my interests are conflicting with anything there, I will not take decisions. This is how I am. And the big mistake I did in my early life was believing that because this is the way I am, that's the way everybody is. And actually, everybody is completely not like this. People tend to put their interest in front of everything. And interestingly, when I get in the studio, everybody is acting as if everything is normal. And it's fine. Like, yeah, nothing, everything cool. Jean-Michel is like, yo, what up, bro? Everybody's like, what up, bro? And me, I'm like, okay, so you are working with the girl I was supposed to work with, doing an album with my label, with an idea that was completely my idea. And everybody is pretending that everything is fine. So you know what? If everybody is pretending that everything is fine, because I'm not a bordel, I'm not a guy who likes to create drama, I just take it for the team, and I also act like everything is fine. So I'm here in the studio, I'm chilling. She's super happy that I'm here because she needs my support, because she's not with her friends. She's with people that are supposed to be my crew, but are actually acting like if they're not. And she knows. So she knows how I feel, but she needs my support. So I'm here to give her my support. I'm not here to create drama and to prevent her from accomplishing her dream, which is working with the great Jean-Michel Rota. But I have things to say, and I'm like, you know what? I'll keep them for when me and him are alone. Until then, I just sit and I'm like, yeah, so. And they want to make me listen to the album. So I listen to the album, I listen to a few songs. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is very futuristic. They great music being done. And I'm like, yo, I really like the tracks. Good luck with the album. I go back to my hotel, do my thing, go do my show, etc. Go back to Paris. As I'm in Paris, my new manager was also, so Guylaine, who was my manager for 20 years, at that time she's my new manager, but she's also the manager of Jean-Michel. So she explains to me that Jean-Michel is about to sign a deal for an album with a label that used to be called De Label back then in France, and they're about to sign a deal, and he's about to take an advance, whatever. And I'm like, huh? Wait a minute, I don't understand. I thought he already had a deal with my label, with Sony Globe Music. I thought he already has a deal with them. This is why they are investing in his label, etc., etc. And she's like, no, he has a deal with them for the label, but for his solo album, we are dealing with those people who are about to give us X amount of money. And I'm like, yeah, but he already, so I'm telling her, from what I heard, he already accepted to do a deal with those people to not only fund his label, but also sign an album with them. I mean, you are his manager, you know more than me. And she's like, me, we are signing there. So me now, I'm like, whoa, popcorns. So what happens is that at a point, he signs a deal with De Label, who I think now they're owned by Virgin, and then they got, like, at a point everybody got bought by big labels, but at that point it was a label that was part of, I don't remember if it was Warner or the Future Universal, I don't remember. But he signs a deal and get an advance, a cash advance with De Label for his solo album. At that point, everybody wants to sign him. So when he signs the deal with De Label, because those guys are my producers, my executive producers are big names in the industry. So they learn, of course, because they talk between each other, between CEOs. They're like, yo, what about you? Oh, I just signed this guy. What? So they call him. And they call my manager. Was she my manager at that time already? I don't remember. She was a manager in 98. Yeah, she was my manager already. They call Guylaine and they say, hey, what the fuck is this? And she's like, what you mean, what the fuck is this? And she's like, hey, listen, we had a deal. And she's like, I was not there when you guys talk. All I know is that you guys are working on the label with him, and me, I'm dealing with his solo album. And they're like, no, the only reason why we did his thing with his label was to in condition that we can also have a solo album with him. And then she asked them, do you have a contract? And they say, no, we have his word. And she's like, listen, I don't know about all that. All I know is I have 100,000 of a check that has been promised by this label. If you want to do this deal with us, you have to give a counter proposal, but we about to sign there. And they're like, oh, so if you sign there, fuck his label then. Why are we funding his thing? We don't want to fund this thing anymore. And then a whole mess, like you said, Nadia. He ends up signing with the other label, and they end up completely shutting down the whole operation. So Lingsha ends up having her whole album completely recorded and aborted in just before completion of the album. They just say, fuck him then. All right. So I come back from Belgium, and my manager tells me, yo, I have some tea for you. I'm like, yeah, what happened? So she explained to me the whole situation. She's like, oh, listen, your girl out there, she was recording her album, blah, 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 blah. Your artist, and the whole situation got out of hand because those guys were thinking that they would do the album with him, but he says that I was like, from what I believe, they gave him all these opportunity for his album. Oh, listen, me, I don't care. I have this deal for him. He accepted the deal. He took the thing, And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, okay. So what about her album? What about the funding of his label, etc.? And they're like, oh no, all this is, they said, oh, in this case, fuck you and your label. I'm like, well, all right. Oh shit. So now I'm sad for her because she was recording her album. So all this is shut down. So I call her, tell her I'm so sorry about what's happening. Listen, politics. And I introduced her at that time to a group of girls, and she becomes part of that group. Another story. And I'm supposed to go on a promo tour with my label, with Dominique, who's the owner of my label. And so we go on tour. We on tour. I mean, we're on a promo tour, so we have to do radios, interviews, promo shows, etc. for the second album, to start trying to push the second album. And so he is in the car. We are going to, so you have to understand something with me. As I told you, respect for me is here. And if I'm pissed at my father, or for whatever things that happened with my mom, for example, or pissed at somebody who's my elder, or pissed at the person who helped me do my first album, that I see like a father, because it's somebody that I call father as well. Because of my respect, I cannot say something. So I'm in the car and I'm very silent because I'm angry, but I cannot tell him my anger because it's incompatible with my respect. But I want to tell him, how could you take my ideas and give them to this guy? And this guy is also my friend. And like, but I just stay silent, and I'm there in the car and I'm not saying nothing. And we had a 1 hour or 2 hour road to go to some remote. I think we were going to the north of the island of Martinique. And he was driving and I was on the passenger seat. And at a point he's there driving and he tells me, you know, so he's a white person. He's French. And he discovered a lot of amazing artists. He produced like Gold, Tago Mago. Like he did, as a label executive, he signed like most of the artists that are super famous today in France. They pass through his hands. So he's there traveling. He said, yo, you know, traveling with working with people from the West Indies is complicated. You know, it's complicated. And I'm like, is it? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. You know, we had this deal with Jean-Michel. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, my deal, my ideas. Yeah, you know, we gave him the third floor. We bought equipment. We did this, we did that. We paid for him and all his people to go to Guyane to record this girl, the girl that I keep bringing with me to the office. That's it, all this is in my head. But my respect prevents me from saying what I feel. And he's like, yeah, you know, and all this, you think we think we care about his label, we think we care about all his thing. All we care about was signing him. And if to sign him we had to invest in his artist, why not? And me in my head, I'm like, yeah, with the money you made from my album. Listen, you have to understand one thing. I only told him this story and everything that I feel last month. This is how and to tell him, I had occasion the last 10 years to tell him, and every time I could not have the courage because of my respect. So you have to understand that only today I can tell you this story because I finally came to a closure, because I finally told him. Imagine. But hey, listen to the rest of the story. At that moment, I'm just keeping everything for myself. I'm like, And now this guy is complaining. So he spent 1 hour off the road telling me, yo, why are these people like this? Why are people not serious? Fuck, man. It was, and I'm just looking at him. I'm like, but did you sign an agreement with him? Did you sign a, no, God, I thought this guy had a word. Blah, 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 blah. Talking. And I'm like, I'm even more pissed. And I'm even more like, and I'm like, yo, this guy is explaining to me this whole thing like if he forgot that in 99, when I was coming back from New York, I was explaining to him that I want to do this, I want to do this, that's this, I want to have a label, I want to sign artists, and blah, blah, blah. And him and his partner were laughing at my ideas. And then you take all my ideas and you give it to not somebody that I don't know. You give it to somebody that I used to be the dancer of, and that is actually kind of pissed that now I'm on the top of the Zouk game when I'm not even from the West Indies. So all these things, I'm like, you guys are supposed to be my guys. And you give my friends who actually are acting like if they are my enemies, you give them my ideas. And now you are complaining to me that these guys fucked you. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? So he complained, yeah, you know, it's always complicated to working with guys from the West Indies. You know, same thing with African people. I'm like, careful. So he explained to me the things. He's super frustrated. He's like, yo, you know how much money we spent on these guys? We spent 100,000 euros with this and that, da, 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 da. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's the money that I asked you to work for me. And listen, he went to do things. You sent him, you paid tickets to go recording in the West Indies, in Guyana, when all I wanted was a home studio up there. And I would have done for you albums for nothing and made you money. And now you are fucking complaining to me. Listen, when you have a lot of respect for your elders and for the people who put you where you are, you kind of, yeah, you are not able to say something. So, okay. I'm like, I'm not going to say nothing. We here, we do the promo tour. Then we take another 2 hour back. And for another 2 hour, he talks about the thing again. And me, I'm like, I just want to be at the hotel so I can, I think I had a girl back then or some there. I had a girl in the West Indies. Oh, she was a singer too. Anyway, she's famous now. What? Anyway, I was like, let me just go to my hotel and fuck, because I'm getting pissed here and I cannot say nothing because my system is preventing me from yelling and strangling this guy and make us do an accident on the road. So let's just go to the hotel so I can call this girl and forget about this whole thing. We do the whole promo tour. When the promo tour is over, okay, I would say that I was not in a bad mood the whole time, but I had this, you know, imagine if your mom and dad are fighting and you are and you in the middle and you don't want to take sides, but you feel something and you just want things to be fine again. But you cannot say something because these are your parents and you respect them. So you cannot say what you feel. So time goes by, you know, and as time go by, we stay, I think, a week or 10 days in the West Indies. We do our show. So it's cool, you know, I just, you know, forget about it. We talk about other things, blah, 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 blah. The other CEO of the label, Olivier, who was his partner in the business, comes and we're all there. Those guys were always laughing about things, you know. At a point I tried to, you know, tell them, hey, blah, blah, blah. So now that you have your third floor is clear again, and like maybe we can talk about my ideas. They laugh again. They're like, Olivier laughs. He's the one who says, this guy really believes he's going to be the next Puff Daddy. You want a label? Ha ha ha. Ba 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 ba. You know how he wants to call his label? Sushi Raw. He wants like a sushi. Ha. They start laughing again. So they don't take me seriously. And they just spent 100,000 on somebody who fucked them. All right, no problem. Actually, just to give you information, after that, the deal with De Label and Jean-Michel, I think it didn't go through because I think he also took an advance from another label, something crazy, and he ended up not making a solo album at all. And the album that she recorded, he would actually completely re-record it in 2004 or 5 and release it as the album called Nation. So that album is available, and it was actually her album that he re-recorded. But at a point, we go back to Paris and they tell me that there was a big label called Sectora at that time. So guys from Sarcelles, which is a suburb in France, and hip hop guys, and two guys from that camp wanted to do a Zouk compilation. And in their Zouk compilation, they wanted to have different artists that were famous, and they wanted to have me in the album and to have Black Free Thinker, thank you so much for your super chat of $5. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Blessings. So at that point, they tell me that these guys want to do have me in their compilation. And me, I'm like, all right, no problem. So I was doing shows. I was going here and there. I was starting to do shows was I starting to do a lot of shows in Africa yet? I'm not sure. I think it was a year before. So we are end of 2000, beginning of 2001. Those guys want to have me in their compilation to produce, to do a song. So they had, so I'm like, well, what do they want? They want me to do a song, produce my own song. They're like, no. They already have their instrumentals, and they want me to sing on. At that time I was rapping, so they want me to rap on top of one of the track. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Can they send me instrumentals? Like, can we choose? Can we choose songs, or, you know? And they say, hey, listen, whatever you want, however you want to feel, but we need you to be part of this because it's a collaboration we're doing with them, and we're gonna distribute the album. So since you are our flagship artist, we would love you to be part of that project. So I'm like, yeah, listen, fine, I'll do it, no problem. Cool. I need some new songs as well, but what, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So at that point, I asked to hear the beat where I'm gonna perform, right? And I hear a beat, and I didn't like the beat. I didn't like the beat. If you don't like a beat, you're an artist, you don't like a beat, you just say, can I have another beat, or can the beat be faster, or whatever. So I forgot the guy's name, but he was not one of the famous artists. He was I think he was the bassist or something like that. I don't remember, but he was from the West Indies. He wanted to do something for himself, whatever. And he calls me, yo, what up, bro? I say, hey, what up, bro? Da, da, da. So what about the beat? When are you recording? When are we going to the studio? And I tell him, yeah, about the beat, can I hear something else? And if I cannot hear something else, if that's the only one you have for me, is it possible to make it a little faster so I can rap? Da 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 da. I think it's a little slow. Blah 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 blah. Like, can we sit down and talk about the beat? Like, because I really want to. Yeah, if I'm gonna perform on your thing, I really want something that is top, and yeah, I'm not sure about this one. So either maybe you make me listen to other things, or if you really want me to perform on this one, maybe you can make it a little faster and maybe add a guitar or something. I mean, hey, listen, it's your music, but. And the guy's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Listen, I'll send you something else, or maybe like we can, maybe when next time we go, you go to the. When are you going to your studio, to your label? I'm saying, I'll be there. I live just across. I'll be there. I mean, anytime. When are you going there? So, I'll be there this afternoon. I'm like, okay, yeah, tomorrow afternoon. Let's meet there, and we can talk about it. And like, you can maybe make me listen to other things, or maybe we can, work on the beat, however it works for you. And the guy's like, yeah, cool, bro, no problem. Okay, cool. The next day, I arrive in the studio. I arrive in the label. Sorry, I arrive at the office of the label. So it was in 17th arrondissement at Porte de Champéret in Paris. So I go there. I was living in Levallois at my mom's house. So I just crossed I think I was two metro stations away. I go take the metro. Boom! I arrive at the label, and I see the guy and another guy. And so I say hi to the guy. Yeah, what up, bro? So I'm in my label. So I'm like, I'm the guy who sold the most records there. So I'm like I'm in my house, So I'm there. I say hi to the girls that work there, chilling. I say hi to the second guy who was with him, and the second guy says hi to me in a strange way. He's like, And I didn't think about it. Really, I didn't think about it because I didn't think about it because, like, I know I don't know the guy, maybe, whatever, I don't care. I go upstairs, talk to Dominique and Olivier, my CEOs of the label. Yo, what up, guys? And they, hey, what up? What up, son? What up? We talk a little bit, whatever. And I'm like, yo, I'm about to go to Gabon to do a show. And then I'm coming back there. Blah blah blah. Stuff. I go back down to talk to the guys. And when I go back down to talk to the guys, I don't see them. And I ask to the girl at the reception of the label, where are the two guys? And she tells me they're in the back alley at so we had the main entrance of the label, and then we had a back alley that was going back to the street or whatever. And so, and then I think the toilets of the label were there. So I go meet them there. So maybe they're at the toilet. So I'm waiting for them at that part. And in that part, there's nobody. So I go there. And when I go there, I see them. And both of them have a completely different look in their face. Both of them are looking at me like this. And me, I'm like, yo, what up, guys? And now one of them take me like this and put me on the wall. And the other one who was making the beat tells me, hey, this is the last time you tell me how to do my music and how to do my thing. Here, it's sectora, blah, 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 you little blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I just told you, like, I didn't tell you nothing special. And he's like, hey, shut the fuck up. I'm telling you, this is how we work. You're going to perform on this beat this way and you're going to shut your mouth. And then they leave me alone and they go. And I'm so shooked that I don't say nothing. I go back to the office. I take my coat, my bags, and I tell the girls at the receptions, okay, tell the guys that I'm going back home. I go back home. I was supposed to go to the movies this day with I don't remember which girl. I was going to the movie. I go to the movies with a girl, and I go see a movie. I don't remember what was this movie, but it was a movie when they put microchips in some sharks, they become intelligent, and it was with LL Cool J. They trap in the thing. I don't know. But as I'm watching the movie, the rage is starting to fill my body. I'm starting, like, listen, I'm not a guy, I'm a cool guy, but listen, these guys are in my house, in my label, threatening me. And I'm pissed. Now I'm pissed off. And listen, I'm boiling inside. I want to cry. I want to yell. I'm angry. And I call, after going out of the movie, I tell the person that I went to the movies with, I have no idea who he was. I'm so sorry. I really have to go home. I don't feel well. On my way home, I called, so Mike and Philly from Organize, who were the two guys that have been with me forever, that I took with me in the West Indies. I taught them how to do beats, etc. I called them too because they were supposed to be in For Real. Those guys are supposed to be in the compilation as well. And I tell them, yo, this happened. This is what happened. So the guys are like, what? So they call Fabu, who's a guy who's like, he's a guy who's always protected us, who's around us. And they call the guys from Aubervilliers, which is all the ghetto guys now. And everybody's like, what? Somebody touched Kaysha? Now you have all CD, everybody's like, yo, let's go find them. Guys from Organize are pissed. Fabu is pissed. The guys from the ghetto are pissed. Everybody's pissed. I call my guy, I have a guy who always, he's around me, but they don't know. They don't know. People don't know who he is, but this is somebody who's always been around me, and he's a guy. Whenever I'm in a party and people from the ghetto see me, that, your guy is here, he says, yeah, listen, if something happens to him, it's on you. So that I always had like protection without knowing sometimes. And I explained to him what happened, and this guy's like, what? Oh shit, it's about to go crazy. So now these people are everybody's in the streets, are ready to go to war and go kill these guys. And me, I'm like, yeah, no. All I say is I'm not gonna be part of it. And they're like, nah, we don't wanna know. Everybody's pissed. So on the same night, I get a call from all the artists who were supposed to be in the compilation, because the guys from Organized, they called all of them. They called Sonia Dersion. So I get a call from Sonia Dersion. I get a call from Nichols. I get a call from Ali Angel. I get a call from Linsha. I get a call from every artist that was supposed to sing in the compilations. They're like, wait a minute. I heard you had a problem with this. And I'm like, yeah. This happened like this. And they're like, Sonia Dersion is like, what? I'm not performing. Ali Angel is like, oh, I'm not singing. I don't know. Listen. They touch our leader? No. I'm like, no, guys, listen. You can perform if you want. I'm not asking for nobody to do anything. I'm a big guy. I can handle my thing. I'm just explaining to you guys why I'm not going to be part of it. And tomorrow I'm going to my label to explain to them why I'm not going to be part of their compilation. And all the artists tell me, no. We will not perform in this project. All of us, so all the artists, all the artists from the West Indies, and even one from Congo, top one, all of them are saying we are not singing in this project because no, hell no. And the guys from the streets are saying we want blood. And I'm like, okay. So the next day, I go to my label and I tell my two CEOs, my two producers, Dominique and Olivier, I tell them, listen, okay, I have really something to tell you. I don't know from where to start, but yesterday as I was coming out of the thing, I met those two guys that you all guys are doing the project with, and this is what happened. They threatened me because of me just telling them this. No, I don't think so. But hey, listen. And I'm like, yeah, so sorry. There's no way I can, be in that project. So listen, you guys want to do the project with these guys? It's your business, it's your money. But me, I'm not singing in this project. That's all I'm telling you. And Dominique, who's the guy who signed me, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. What the fuck? He's pissed off. And Olivier, his partner, is saying, the motherfuckers, listen, me alive, there's no way that people come inside of our label and threaten our artists. So this project, we will not do it. Simple as that. So you can be sure that this project is not gonna happen. And we are now calling the head of Sector Art, Kenzie, to tell him, yo, your guy fucked up, so we're not doing the business with you anymore. So me, I'm like, I'm kind of happy. I mean, it's not that I'm happy, but I'm happy to know that everybody has my back. I'm kind of emotional. I'm like, hey, sorry, I really don't want to fuck your business. And they're like, no. There's no question of fucking our business. This is not happening. So listen, everybody's starting to place calls. So the CEO of the label, they both call the big boss of Sector Art, Kenzie, to start explaining to him the situation. And at the same time, the guys from the streets, they call him too, telling, hey, your two guys touched our guy. And listen, this guy, nobody touches him. So listen, you better talk to your guys and have them say sorry or whatever, because if not, he's gonna be fucked up. So from guys that I knew from the kids of Mobutu that was walking with them, and listen, I'm here like this, but it's heavy behind me. The two guys from that camp, they come to me and they tell me, hey, yo, the two gangsters that I know, they're like, yo, hey, whatever happened there, like don't worry, it's being handled. Kenzie already talked to them, he yelled at them, nobody touched to Kaysha. They were like, what the fuck are you? I'm hearing, and even the guys from the street is like, listen, everything is being handled, don't worry, and don't think about it. And those guys will come to you and tell you they're sorry. This is what's gonna happen. When we tell you to come in this place, just come. So me, I'm like, all right. So I stay in my house. I'm here chilling. After 2 days, the two guys come to me. And with more guys from Sector A, they were there. And some of my guys. We meet somewhere. Oh, we met at a party. I don't remember. But we met somewhere and this guy arrived. He was very humble now, because people talked to him and he understood that no, I'm not just this, no. And he came and he was like, yo, bro, hey, I just want to tell you that I'm sorry. I overreacted when you told me that you didn't like my beat, blah, 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 blah. But hey, that I didn't mean to da. Just sorry, da. But okay, I'm like, okay, it's okay, no problem. Cool. So another guy from that camp comes and tells me, everything settled? I'm like, yeah, everything's settled. It was like, okay, cool. Shake my hand, goes. My guy from the streets call me, say everything's settled. I'm like, yeah, everything's settled. Guys from Organize call me. Fabu, they say everything's settled. Yeah, everything's settled. So everybody go down. No need to go crazy on the street side. And on the business side, my label said, they said that my label come and says that they're not gonna do this project. So me, I'm done. So I go to I think I travel somewhere to do a show. I come back after 2-3 days, and First thing I do when I land, I come from my house, I go take a shower, leave my suitcase, and I go directly to the label because I needed something done at the label. I think I needed some CDs. I needed some CDs on my first 2 albums to send them in different places. So it's something I used to do every week. Every time I would just send my CDs to DJs all around the world. And I go to the label. And when I go to the label, so you know, it's my label. I mean, it's not my label, but it's the label where I'm signed to, and it's a small boutique label. There's like 4 or 5 artists, and I'm the flagship artist. So I never take meetings. I just go to the label when I go to the label, and like I just come and I ask if the guys are busy, and if they're busy, I stay downstairs. And if they're not busy, I just go upstairs and I say, yo, what up, guys? And, you know, talk, whatever. I was always used to doing that because it's my house. And when I enter the label, the girls downstairs at the reception and the office at the reception down there, they're strange. They're like, oh, don't go up there. Like, they're busy. They have the meeting. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I just stay downstairs. I'm there. At that time, we don't have like internet in the phones, so I just go to one of the computers so I can go online, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll just go when they're done. And I talk with the girls like I always talk to the girls. So what up, girls? What you been doing while I was away for a week? Blah 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 blah. And I don't know, the girls are strange. Okay, but. And I'm like, hey, don't forget to tell me when these guys are not busy anymore, so I can just say hi and then, you know, whatever. And after, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, I just want to pee. So I go to pee. So the toilets are downstairs near the exit of the back exit, not the front exit. So as I'm going to pee, wash my hands, open the door to leave to go back to the main thing, I hear the voice of Olivier, who's the head of the label. And I hear him talking with people. And I just come out the toilet to say hi. And what do I see? I see him talking with the 2 guys of the fucking compilation. I see them just, and he's like, okay, so go, because yeah, if he sees you. And he opens the door from the back and those guys go. And so me, I go back in the toilet, and I see them, but they don't see me. So I see those 2 guys in my house. And you know what? That moment, my heart was broken. Completely, like, I was like, oh, damn. Wow. Fuck. Those are like my fathers. So I stay in the toilet for 5 minutes, and then I come out the toilet, and then I go, and then when I go back, the girls are like, yeah, you can go up now. So I go up, and when I go up, Olivier is like, ah, son, ah, and Dominique is like, ah, and I'm like, hey guys. And they're like, oh, so how was Gabon? How was this? How was that? No, it was great. I just came to say hi. Yeah, you know, do you want to lunch with us? No, I'm not really hungry. I'm just gonna go back home. Go back home, go in my bed, and start crying because my heart is broken. I'm like, whoa. And I don't say nothing for, I'm super like sad. I don't say nothing to my label heads for, I don't know, a whole week. I don't remember. And then Olivier calls me to tell me, yeah, you know, can you call your friends? I'm like, what you mean call my friends? It's like, yeah, you know, can you call your other friends artists, because you know, since what happened, they don't want to perform in the project, and like it would be great if, you know, you call them to convince them to sing in the project. And me, I'm like, wait a minute. 2 weeks ago, this guy told me nobody come in this house and threaten our artists. And now you are calling me like nothing happened to tell me, please call all these artists and tell them to sing because nobody wants to sing because of you. And I replied to him, I'm not calling nobody. And I hang up. And then I think some artists end up performing in the compilation, getting paid, and some others didn't. I don't care. Like, to me, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not asking. And listen, the treason for me was not that they continue working with these guys, because they just could have called this guy and say, what the fuck is going on? Ask them to come, tell them to say sorry, and the whole thing was forgotten, right? And just, my problem was, you are the one who told me nobody will come in this house and threaten our star. I didn't ask you to say all this, but if you say all this for me to feel that I'm important to you guys, and behind my back you continue working your shit, I'm like, yo, you guys are amazing. So starting then, so you have to understand something about my thing. Respect, family, and ambitions, and interests. My respect here, and whatever is before conflicts of interest, all this only exists if you respect me. The moment you stop respecting me, all this vanishes, and now I'm gonna take care of myself, since you guys actually don't care about me and you only care about your business. So myself, I'm gonna do my business as well. And starting now, the only thing I want is to leave this label and do my thing myself, or work with other labels. At that point, I just wanted to work with another label and not be with these guys, because I was really disappointed in these actions. And so at that point, yeah, I never talked to the label, I never go there, and I explained to my manager the whole situation. My manager tells me, we have to leave this label. So we start looking at my contract. My contract was this type of contract where you don't get out. You cannot get out of contract, because it's like a revolving door, like it's like a merry-go-round contract where you have to give them like X album per every 5 years. You have to give them 3 albums, and every year they'll have to send you a letter to say we continue the contract, and then you stay in the contract. And after that, like, it was a contract that nobody signed. So we went to a lawyer, and then we were starting to really be in conflict now, and they didn't understand. They were saying, yeah, this guy, he's changing. Now you have the big head because you think you're a superstar. We made you, da 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 da. And me, I was never replying to them. And at a point, I go to a lawyer who tells me, wow, you cannot leave this contract. It's impossible. You have to give them at least 7 albums before you can leave this contract. And me, I'm like, fuck. And they're like, yo, listen, as long as they send you the letter as long as they send you a letter every year reconducting the contract, you are in the contract. And me, I'm like, a letter? And they're like, yeah, they have to send you a letter every year. I said, yeah, I remember I received a letter last year. When am I supposed to receive the next letter? He's like, you're supposed to receive it in February, at the anniversary of this contract. So you're supposed to receive it in August, I think. No, wait, was it the summer? Whatever, let's invent the date. We're supposed to receive it in March. 1st of March, you're supposed to receive the letter which reconducts your contract. So if the contract, and what if I don't receive the letter? If you don't receive a letter, like, did you not receive the letter? I'm like, no, I didn't receive nothing. In the midst of all that shit, I didn't receive no letter. And he's like, okay, take this pen. I said, okay. Take this paper and write down. I said, okay. Je sous-signé. Yep. Edouard Mokolo. Yep. I'm writing. I see by the present that you decided to not reconduct my contract, which I'm sorry to see that. But I take act of the fact that our contract number 00 is now over. And yeah, I don't wish to reconduct the contract. Put the date, 2001, blah, 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 blah. Sign. I sign. Give me that letter. Sends this to the label. And just like that, I was free. And the guys received the letter. They start calling me. They're pissed off. What the fuck? How can you do this? Why would you do this to us? We gave you this, we gave you that, we pay this, we pay that. See how you people are. You just like your friend. Fuck you. And then I start going to all the labels. So I start talking to other labels at Sony, but other labels at BMG, other labels with Virgin, the Label. I start going with a lot of guys who really liked me. And they really wanted to work with me. And I've been meeting them, all these people, because those guys would take me to meetings and stuff. So I knew all the big labels heads. I knew the guys at Universal. I knew everybody at that point in the music industry. And then at a point, I go to one guy. I forgot his name, but he was a label. He was a guy who had a label. He produced a lot of African music, a lot of things. And I was like, hey, listen. I went to him, so we had a meeting with my manager. We started making him listen to some music. He was like, oh my God, you are so talented. Oh my God, this is so crazy. This is going to be beautiful. But, and I'm like, but what? He said, you are blackballed. I'm what? You are blackballed. You blackballed in the industry. And I'm like, what does it mean? He said, oh, these guys told everybody, and we have a rule between us, CEOs, all of us, that if there's a problem with an artist and one artist betray one of us, we don't take the artist. So I would love to sign you. And the reason why nobody is signing you is because they put you in the blacklist. And we all have this deal between us that, we don't sign people that are in the blacklist. So you are an amazing artist and I would love to work with you. And you know I love you. You can come here anytime. You can do this, you can do that. But trust me, nobody will sign you. Like, consider your career over, because nobody will ever sign you. Nobody. Forget about it. You blackballed. So me and my manager, we're like, the fuck they're talking about? Blackballed. So we start going to the radios. My music doesn't play in the radio anymore. My music doesn't play on TV anymore. And phase 2, people accept to talk with us on the phone or see us secretly in a dinner, but nobody wants to be seen with me inside of Universal, Sony, Epic, Chrysalis, Virgin, De La Belle, all these labels. The word is now all around France, Paris. Kaysha is blacklisted, and nobody, if you sign him, so the thing is this, if one of you sign him, will sign one of the guys that you blacklisted, and so they all have an understanding that this guy here, nobody signs him and nobody works with him because he fucked us, he did us dirty. Wow. So after trying to talk with people, like all of them, listen, don't forget one thing. My first album sold 100,000 copies. Every copy is $10, meaning that they made $1 million out of me. So everybody wants to sign me because everybody wants to make $1 million or $2 out of me. But I'm blackballed. I'm in the blacklist, and nobody will sign me. Nobody will play my shit. Nobody will call me. And even some clubs are scared to hire me to perform. All the clubs that are from a certain level, they don't want. And the only thing I have now is the black clubs. So all the small clubs all around and outside of France. And my manager comes to me and tells me, Kay, it's over. There's nothing we can do. The whole industry is against you and there's nothing you can do. And I tell her, tell the whole industry to lick my ass and to watch me. I go to Belgium to regroup, to think. I come back from Belgium around 2002. I come back from Belgium and I tell my manager, if France wants, what up, Damu? If France wants to play with me, I'm gonna show them who I am. And by the end of 2001, I think, or around the summer of 2001, I start a whole strategy of doing my whole business without France, which means I'm only performing in all the small clubs. I changed my cachet to 1,000, 1,005 per show, so I can do a lot of shows, so I can invest in my own product by myself. And every time I go somewhere, I bring a box of my own CDs and I sell them at the shows. And I go to Belgium. I have guys like all my real guys. They start putting me in. They start putting me in shows. In this why up to today, those people are my guys. They start finding me. I have a team of people. All they do is find me shows in France, in Belgium, in Switzerland, and we start having people to find a show in Gabon, Congo, all the French-speaking Africa. And so I have a bunch of shows, and I do my first compilation independently called Caribbean Soul in 2001. I released Caribbean Soul, and inside of Caribbean Soul, I do my first independent hit. So it's the first time I'm not with Sony. I'm still completely blackballed from the industry, but I do my first compilation, and in this one I have a song called Mélanger with Linsha that I took back, and I told her, hey, sing here, let's do this. Boom, the song comes out and becomes #1 in the radio, but I cannot go on the white radios, so I'm only in the black radios. I become #1 of all the African radios and all the West Indies radios. So there's 2, Espace FM, Media Tropical, and then Africa Numéro 1. All these, I become #1 with that song. Because the song is #1, shows go back like crazy. I started doing shows all around France, in all the black clubs. And all the black clubs, they call me because I've always been respectful, and I never charged them. I never overcharged them. Even when I was gold with the album, I didn't overcharge nobody. So everybody is happy to have me back to support. And everybody's like, hey, we are behind you. And we got you. So I do shows every week, and I take all this money, and I use this money to fund the co-production of my 3rd album. And in the meantime, I keep telling my manager, we don't need French radio, we don't need French TV, we don't need labels. We're gonna release ourselves. And 2001 passed, 2003, I release It's All Love, my 3rd album, on my own label, with distribution of Section Zouk, which is the biggest Zouk label at that time. Release my album. Inside of this album, there's a song called On Dit Quoi. At that time, I just had my first son, who's about to turn 19 now. On Dit Quoi comes out. It becomes the biggest African song on the continent, first in Ivory Coast, then Congo, then the rest of the French-speaking Africa, and then it goes back up to France. It becomes the biggest song after Premier Gaou. It becomes huge, and nobody can do nothing. And all the labels call me. Ah! Oui, allô, Kaysha, bonjour, oui, c'est Vincent de Universal. Oui, tu sais... Oui, allô, Kaysha, oui, c'est Sébastien de... Oui, Kaysha... I'm blackballed. Continue licking my black balls. Album becomes #1 all around. Shows all around the world. Sell the albums. After that, I do the album of Sumia, which becomes #1. I do the album of Elisio, #1. I do the album of ABG. Sushiro becomes a huge label, and I don't need nobody. And radios end up having to play my songs because they don't have a choice. And time goes by, those people end up losing their label. They lose their label. I mean, the label is over, whatever, because they could not find somebody. And all the people who were trying to, working with them, they're all replaced by a new generation. And I don't need nobody anymore. So when I do my 4th album, I become completely obsessed with independence, because now I make 100% profits. When I sell 1 CD, I make 10. No, I make 6 because I still have a revenue share with Section Zouk. We have a 60%, 40%. But now imagine that we are in 2003. Every time I sell an album of Kaysha, I make 60%. Every time I sell an album of Sumia, I make 50% of the sale. Eligio, 50%. ABG. And around that time, I also do Deeper for Nelson Freitas. After I do this song, everybody now in the Kizomba world is like, oh my God, who's this guy? And everybody's starting to come and buy some beats, which makes a lot of intellectual property rights, because I receive now money from my shows, I receive money from sales, and I also receive money from all the compositions that I do here and there. And some people come to me, and like a lot of girls, guys, they come to me and they say, listen, we want a song. I was like, yeah, what kind of song? No, listen, we want you to write, produce, and do everything, and mix. I was like, oh, okay. So there's a lot of songs out there that you guys listen to that I'm either 50% owner of intellectual rights because I wrote or I composed, or 100% because I did everything. So for example, Deeper by Nelson Freitas, I own 50% of that song intellectually. So every time it generates €1 for the last 15 years, I get 50 cents, he gets 50 cents. Songs like Les DS, I did 80% of the album. So every time there's money coming in, I make money from that. And now I'm a completely independent artist, but I'm also a successful businessman, and I'm actually on the top of the food chain. And all this because I got blackballed. All this because the territory where I was blocked everywhere. So I start thinking outside of the box. I was already thinking outside, but all these ideas that I wanted to have with them, and all this money I wanted to have to make for them, I start making it for me. And then I become, after that, the first artist ever to sell 100,000 songs on iTunes. The first ever African artist to sell 100,000 songs on iTunes. It's me. In 2004, I sing for the first time in front of Michael Jackson that I meet. And then I sing the next year or the year before, I don't remember, in front of Nelson Mandela. I get a Cora Award, Best African Artist, 2 Cora Awards for Best African Artist from the Diaspora, meet Michael Jackson, meet Nelson Mandela, etc., etc. The rest, you know the history. But yeah, when life gives you lemons, listen, I make lemonade. And that's what I did. I really like turned this whole situation into the thing. So after Master Electronic, thank you for your 4th super chat of 20 crowns. Thank you so much, brother, for supporting the show. So at a point, so now I'm good. One day I get a call from Olivier, and he's like, yo, how do you do? Hey, why don't you never pass to the office? I think we met each other in a place where it was like a bunch of CEOs. It was a reunion of CEOs in the black industry, in the black music industry, and he was invited because he produced a lot of artists, and I was invited because I was there speaking at this event. So we hear in the thing, and he's like, "Oh, Kaysha." I was like, "Oh, Olivier, long time, years. Like, what you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here." But wait, you here as an artist? No, I'm here as a CEO. He's like, "Wow, oh yeah, I'm proud of you. Thank you." And I was like, what about Dominique, the guy who signed me? He's like, oh, we don't talk anymore. Like, oh, sorry to hear. It's okay. So after the thing, it's like, hey, you know, you should pass at the label, you know, hey, you know, yeah, sure. So the next day I go to the label and I tell him, hey, listen, what about my masters? And he's like, yeah, what about your masters? And I'm like, yeah, how much? He says, what, you want to buy your masters? I say, yeah, I want to buy my masters. I want to buy, like, I own my, at that time I had 5 albums. I said, yeah, I own 5 albums. Oh no, I had 4. I own 4. I would love to own 6. I would love to own my whole thing. And he's like, hey, listen, you are son, so this much. I'm like, okay. Send him a wire and took possession of the masters of my 2 first albums. Boom. And after a few years, around 2007, I think, 2007, 2008, I wanted to come and move to Portugal. I knew that I wanted to move to Portugal, but I needed somebody to run my operation in France still with the label. It was more for the publishing side. And I asked my manager to find Dominique for me. I said, hey, listen, I need a shark. I need a shark to handle my operation here and become my business affair. And he started working with me for my label in this case, and we start working together again. But this time it was more for everything that is contract related, and because I needed a real shark with me. So and at that time I knew I controlled the game. So I start working together, but we never talk about this whole situation. And so we start working, he helped me in a few things that I needed to do and a few litigation that I needed to win. He won them for me, etc. And he was also trying to get back in the music game. And then I moved to Portugal, etc., etc. And he, you know, we never had that conversation. We never had the conversation about the whole thing that happened and how it happened. And he was just telling me how he was proud of me, and how he was like, oh, you remember when we were laughing about you trying to be the next Puff Daddy? You actually became the African Puff Daddy. I was like, hey, you know. And so one day, 2 years ago, he was with he was here in Portugal, and I was with Bodhisattva. So I introduced him to him. I was like, hey, this is the guy who executive produced my first album. So introduced them, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about things, but he said something that I didn't like. He said, yeah, you know, at a point, you know, like every artist, he was telling us a bunch of stories. Like, I love listening to his stories because he's been in the industry for so long that he has a lot of stories. And he said, you know, one day at a point, he was telling the story to Buddy. He said, you know, the Buddy said, yeah, but why you guys stop working together at a point? And he said, well, you know, at a point he started having the big head, you know, but it's normal. He was young, and I wanted to say, no, that's not what happened. But respect, because he's in his 60s now. I still respect him and I still owe him. So, and in front of Buddy, I didn't want to say something, so I didn't say nothing. I called Buddy after and I explained to him the whole story. And he was like, wow. And he was like, why don't you talk to him about this? And my manager always told me, why don't you close this book once and for all? I was like, you don't know, I don't know why. I don't have the courage to go back to these feelings and feel the sadness that I had. So I kind of kept it this way. 1 year passed, 2 years passed, then COVID hit, then I was sick, then I thought that I was about to die. And when I survived COVID, I was just different. And I thought that, you know what, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of stories that, and since I still talk to this guy from time to time, and we talk hours, we talk all the time, you know. Now I'm, because he's a guy, he's old school, he's a guy who works on was used to work on the city side. Me, I'm digital. So when we talk, when we talk, I actually give him a lot of advice. Actually, he calls me about, you know, NFTs. He calls me about all these things now, and you know, we talk all the time. And one day, I was going to do my laundry. That was I would say 3 weeks ago. No, maybe more. Maybe 5 weeks ago. I don't remember. And we were talking about things. We're talking about in the industry. He was telling me the whole story about working with Jean-Michel Rotin, working with Tania Sanval, working with this, that, telling me a lot of stories of artists. And then I was like, I really felt emotional, and I was like, I have to tell you something. And he was like, what? I have to tell you why I left your label, because I think you forgot. And I told him for 2 hours, we stayed on the phone, and I told him this whole story all over again. And he didn't remember a lot of the parts of the story, but he told me something that I didn't know back in the days. He told me that actually him and Olivier, the other one, Olivier was doing his project with these guys. It was not his project. And actually that day when I went to the label, they actually had a fight, a physical fight, because actually Olivier was trying to take the company from him and replace him with those guys. So actually in the label, there was some fighting inside, and he was telling me that side of the story that I didn't know. And I was also telling him my side of the story, that he didn't remember a lot of these things. And he told me that he kind of remembered the Jean-Michel story, but at that time I was too young, and like, they didn't trust me because they didn't really know me, etc., etc. And he told me, I'm so sorry that you had to go through all this, but I don't understand why you didn't talk to me then. And I told him, listen, I don't know. I didn't want drama, and I was like, yeah, but when this happened, when you saw the guys, why didn't you talk to me? And I was like, I don't know. I was too sad and too, you know, and yeah, I just took the decision to leave you guys. So for me, you know, we are very good now, me and Dominique. I don't see Olivier at all, but me and Dominique, we are very good. He has his businesses, I have my businesses. Now I'm fully independent completely, and I love talking to him about, you know, the industry, the things, and he loves talking to me because I remind him of a lot of things that he forgot. And for me, it was very important to close this book. And having this conversation kind of relieved me from something that I always had, you know, inside. And he told me, yeah, you know, like, he called me, like, he sent me a message when I was in Congo. He was like, hey, listen, I would love to, you know, continue talking about all these things, remind me a lot of things, because I love listening to your point of view from us back then, and, you know, the good and the bad things that we did. I love hearing your stories because your memory is so vivid of things that I don't even remember some of these things. And you know, I actually don't care if he remembered for real or not. It's not that important for me. For me, what was important was to close the book. And to a lot of people, we know we keep the wounds open, and we keep being angry, and we keep being like, when actually, yeah, sometimes you need to close the book, especially when you won. Because a victory is not a victory if you are still hurting and you still have those things inside of you. Somebody is with you and they leave you for another guy, and they end up being cheated on 1,000 times by the other guy, and you end up being happy. It's a victory. Unless you keep thinking about it and you don't close the book. At a point, you have to go see that person and say, listen, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, and I forgive you for what you did to me, so you can move on and leave everything behind. And a lot of people, they don't know how to do that. I know how to do that. The positive of this story is it made me who I am today, and it made me the way I am today. And at the same time, I closed that book. So I could not tell these stories a year ago on Club Shada. This story, I always wanted to tell you guys this story, but I would have been too emotional and I would have been too sad telling the story, where today I can tell the story because the book is closed now. I can tell it to you as the story of the pages of a book that I'm reading, and not something that I'm living. And listen, if you have stories like this with people, friends, family, ex-business, go ahead and have this conversation so that you can be freed from it. A lot of people, they keep on, they kind of clutch to all these bad stories because they need to complain about something. I don't. I believe that some people, you can continue to see everything they did for you and remind them of the bad things as well. And some other people, you need to remove them from your life completely. It's up to you to choose depending on the story, right? And yeah, listen, today I'm in a very good spirit with Dominique. I'm in very good spirit with Jean-Michel as well, Linsha as well. Why? Because with all these people, I took the time to sit down with them and tell them my side of the story and listen to their side also, to understand how they were feeling at that time, why they did whatever, but also me to tell them, hey, you did me wrong here and here and here and here. Because those stories are stories that are almost 24 years old. So at a point, you have to close this book. If not, the stories is eating you. So yeah, that was the story of me being blackballed